In his first public comments on Bangladesh, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has appealed to Mohd Yunus to ensure the safety of Hindus and all other religious minorities. I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo story. 84-year-old Mohd Yunus, known for his Grameen Bank, often called the banker to the poor, is now at the helm of the interim government in Bangladesh. He is there on popular demand by the students who led the protests on the streets of Bangladesh. Meanwhile, the debate continues over the future of Bangladesh, and Sheikh Hasina is still in India, even amid reports that she finally stepped out of her safe house for shopping at the Air Force base, where she has been literally in hiding ever since she fled Dhaka. What might the shape and future of Bangladesh look like? This on a day when Moscow is accusing the United States of also fueling the protests on the street. And Sheikh Hasina's son is now saying his mother will not seek asylum, but will at some point return to Bangladesh. He's also pointing a finger at Pakistan's ISI. A lot to talk about on the program today. I want to welcome to the program our newsmaker today, Mahfuz Anam. You've seen him on our program before. He's one of Bangladesh's most respected journalists. He's the editor of the Daily Star, and there's always a lot to learn and understand from him. Mahfuz Saab, thank you. I want to start by asking you to talk a little bit about what it means to have Mohd Yunus at the helm of this interim government, as it were. Mr. Yunus, of course, is a Nobel laureate. He has been known as the banker to the poor. But in Bangladesh, during Sheikh Hasina's time, he's not been without controversy. He was dragged through the courts, accused of violating labor laws and so on. Was he a political victim of the Hasina regime? And what is the significance of having him at the helm today? Mahfuz Saab.
Well, he is a highly respected person, and he's acceptable to every section of Bangladesh population, except to Sheikh Hasina. We really have never learned why our former Prime Minister hated Professor Yunus so much. The cases in the labor law, he was ousted from Grameen Bank through a legal court order, and he has been really maligned, calling him, in Bangla, ghushkhor, shootkhor, and all sorts of, negative things. The legal cases really stand on very almost fictitious ground, and the cases that have been filed, he has been ultimately jailed for 6 months by a labor court which has violated all the legal norms. So he was a victim of Sheikh Hasina government, and over a long period of time, and we really still haven't found out why. But anyway, so he's now in the helm of affairs. There is tremendous, you can say, public trust on him. And he has committed to restore democracy, good governance, rule of law, and everything, which is really what people want. So that's where we are today.
Now, can you explain the irony of a student-led movement, young people leading the protests, but a reasonably old man, and I'm not being ageist here, a man in his 80s being at the helm of government, and 2 students also being part of government, which is quite interesting and unique.
Yes. The students have really taught us so much in the last few months. And I think when our politics in the hands of the politicians and the political parties have really reached the rock bottom in terms of, myopia, partisanship, corruption. You see, when BNP was in power 16 years before, we remember very well, how the whole narrative shifted to, the BNP side of it, and Awami League was totally ignored. And now over the last 16 years, BNP was totally marginalized. So, this is really a rotten politics of which ultimately it has family linkages, it has, personality cults, and we have been divided and almost victims of these almost bipolar politics in Bangladesh, and nobody has been able to come out of it. Students have done it. I mean, they really broke the traditional concepts of politics, of leadership, and everything, and they truly brought out a revolution. What impressed me most about these students is that what they said. See, originally it was a demand for quota. Then they, demanded more reforms. Finally, it became one issue of Hasina to go. But now, after that, the things they have said to me sort of smack of immense maturity. So the fact that they are in the part of the interim government, I think it's a fresh voices, fresh faces coming into politics. Now, this is really, a fresh start. And we are all expecting a lot from Dr. Yunus, and let's see where we go.
Now, the big matter of concern, and this is a concern in Bangladesh, but it's a big concern that's been expressed by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, is about the security of religious minorities. And he has congratulated Dr. Yunus. He has said that he looks forward to working with him. But he has also said that his appeal is to ensure the security of Hindus and all other religious minorities. We have seen in the past few days unfortunate attacks on religious minorities. Your own newspaper has reported them. We have seen the Indira Gandhi Cultural Center come under attack. We have seen a prominent Hindu musician, artist come under attack. What is the situation today? What can you tell us about these attacks on Hindus and other religious minorities? Have they come down? Are they contained? Is there a better grip on law and order? What are your concerns?
I'm very concerned about it. I almost feel ashamed as a nationalist, as a freedom fighter, that even after 53 years of our independence, at the slightest, dislodging of power, the first victims are the religious minorities, and specifically the Hindus. And it is really a matter of great shame. And I say it even at a personal level, that how come we haven't grown out of it? So the concern is, in a sense, valid. I think this concern is also shared by Professor Yunus, shared by all of us, all, if you like, those who wish a prosperous Bangladesh. So yes, I personally feel ashamed, as I said before, that why should it happen? But it does happen. Every effort is being made to stop it. I think it will really be stopped very soon. But the scar remains in my heart.
Now, these attacks on religious minorities, the Hindu community among them, have led many in India and other parts of the world to ask, and you and I have discussed this briefly before, whether there is a danger of the rise of Islamism, of religious extremism, of jihadist groups. And I remember you saying to me at that time that there is a visual stereotyping. There were many, many peaceful, upbeat, uplifting protests. We have also seen images of, amid all the attacks, of students sitting outside a temple, ensuring that no harm comes to it. We have seen Muslims sitting outside.
Islamic mullahs protecting temples.
Yes. Even so, given the attacks, and as you said, you're ashamed that they've taken place, are you concerned? Are you concerned that religious extremism, the more hardline Islamist elements will now have a bigger say? Because again and again, this is the question that is asked about the post-Hasina age in Bangladesh. Parallels are somewhat drawn with what happened in Egypt, where Hosni Mubarak was a dictator, but he was seen to be more pluralistic than what followed him. This is a concern that is being asked in India and around the world. How do you respond to it?
My response is twofold. One is the immediate event of attack on Hindus, which has no place in the psyche of independent Bangladesh, but it happens. It's our failure to create a ethos of tolerance, and that we admit. This is one. But and I condemn it from my heart. However, there is a bigger narrative of understanding the countries that have that have a very strong Islamic tradition. Now, there I think we have failed to communicate to India to understand us better, and India, with all its magnificence and all its intellectual heritage, have failed to understand the psyche of a Muslim majority country. Now, this, first of all, this whole narrative that this is ISI, this is Islamic extremist. I mean, what evidence there is? Yes, some people have gone out. I mean, the people who have destructed the temples do not represent Bangladesh. We condemn them. So somebody was waiting in the horizon to take a chance and destroy a Hindu temple. Now, you have seen that in India, that some people were waiting and they destroyed a mosque or attacked the Muslims. So if you like, the amorphous group that can exist in India, it also exists in Bangladesh. Now, when mosques are destroyed in India, we in Bangladesh media don't sort of go to the sky and saying India is becoming extremist, Muslims are being hated and slaughtered and all that. But when it happens in Bangladesh, you people has just hit the roof. I mean, I have read in very respectable Indian publication saying that this movement was done by Shibir and Jamaat Islami, helped by Pakistan ISI. I mean, again, the mindset, I mean, this Russian who are saying that America did it, they all are captive of a mindset that nothing in Bangladesh can happen by its own people. However, I will admit that there could be fringes who are trying to take advantage, and given these weaknesses of Bangladesh's institution, they succeed. So this is something that we will together fight in Bangladesh. But India's narrative of what happened in the last few days, India's narrative of Hasina's departure, is all focused on religious extremism. I would say, Barkha, to you and through you, that please take a break, take a calm breath, and try and understand what's going on. Number one, we are a Muslim majority country. And therefore, there are some extremists who are trying to give it the Muslim ideology, they try to give it a anti-Hindu a push. And there are and this happens in India also. The right of Indian people to have a Hindu cultural heritage. Many people then push Hindu cultural heritage into anti-Islam or anti-Muslim. You people prevent it. We will prevent it in Bangladesh.
This allegation of a Pakistan ISI link, you may have seen it in Indian media, but this allegation has now been made by the son of the former Prime Minister, Sheikh Hasina. Sheikh Hasina's son, he's Bangladeshi, right? You can't take that away from him. You may disagree with him. You may say whatever.
Now listen, I don't want to disrespect him. He has every right to his opinion, and I don't want to comment on him. But the fact is that he hardly lived in Bangladesh.
Okay. One of the other things he has said is that his mother, there was initially a sense that she would be seeking asylum in either the United Kingdom or one of the European countries. The United Kingdom hasn't moved with great enthusiasm. Sheikh Hasina is still in India. He now says that his mother will return to Bangladesh once democracy is restored. She's not going to leave the country. If that happens, do you think that there is a place for a kind of normal, open politics in Bangladesh where Sheikh Hasina comes back, there are free and fair elections, she contests like anybody, she wins or she loses, she returns to the mainstream of Bangladesh politics? Is that possible, or do you think that the moment she comes back, she will be jailed or her life may not be secure? I don't know.
Listen, first of all, it is highly premature for us to speculate on that score. And Hasina's own record will haunt her. The way she treated Khaleda Zia, put her in jail for years together on charges which are quite dubious, So the way she treated her political opponent may come back to haunt her. This is personal. But on the bigger political scene, we definitely want a politics of tolerance, a politics of multi-party politics, and Awami League as a party of such tradition definitely has a right and if to be there. So Awami League's challenge now is to reconstruct, rebuild its broken houses, and basically face the record of the last 15 years. I mean, forget everything else. The corruption that they have indulged in will come to haunt them. And now corruption charges and everything. Now coming back to Sheikh Hasina, she didn't think when she was treating Khaleda Zia in the way she did. And as a journalist, I can tell you that much of those cases were very tenuous, and the whole legal process was left lot to be desired. So when if she comes back, and she should, I mean, not she should, that she has the right to. She's a very long-term serving politician. Why should she not be back? But other consequences is for her to judge, and the very fact of the last part of her tenure and the firing on the students, somebody will have to take the responsibility, and she was the head of the government. So those things will come to haunt her. And about Sajib Wajid's comments. So he has every reason to feel aggrieved. I mean, he was on the buttered side of the bread for last 16 years. He used to come to Bangladesh as a son of the Prime Minister, getting all the protocols that perhaps that position demands. So he's an aggrieved party, and he has a right to his opinion.
In the end, I must ask you, what is your immediate concern for your country? What worries you the most? What keeps you up at night? You yourself have been at the receiving end of the crackdown on independent media in the Hasina years. Today, maybe you're able to speak a little more easy, but what concerns you the most?
Just to give you a dramatic example, till there was a change of power, I never spoke anything with my mobile phone near me. I used to put it in the next room before talking because the surveillance was so strong. But anyway, what worries me at the moment is the task before the interim government. Now, just to give you one example, you see, the students have struggled and now demanding reforms. Okay, and reforms need time, it needs legal frameworking, it needs a lot of thinking to come together. On the other hand, BNP is just waiting on the doorstep to come to, or at least take power. And the way they are wanting is election. And the Constitution of Bangladesh says that when the parliament is dissolved, you have to have a next election within 90 days. So 90 days election, and the agenda of the students that have led to this interim government is fundamental political reform. So how the reform agenda and the election will be managed is, to me, the first major challenge in front of the interim government.
A final question. Sheikh Hasina, as I mentioned, is still in India. There are media reports, we don't know this for sure, there's no way to know this for sure, that suggests that at the Air Force Base, she stepped out with her sister, she spent 30,000 rupees on shopping at the Air Force Base itself, but otherwise she's in a safe house. I don't see her staying long-term in India, but the longer she stays, how is it being viewed in Bangladesh?
I think her stay in India will reinforce some people's mind that she's too close to India, and that she carried on Indian agenda in Bangladesh. But that is a group who always accused her of that. Her staying longer in India will just further fuel that. But on the other hand, India is a neighbor. And there she deserves to get support. She has been a great friend of India, and why shouldn't India come to her aid when she needs it most? But Hasina's political future is something that really needs to be thought about. And I think, in my view, if there is one word that destroyed Hasina's political career, is arrogance. I mean, as time went past, she cut herself from multiplicity of views. I wrote once that she was living in what is called Walkman syndrome, which is like you put on the mic and you always hear the music that you want to hear wherever you are, even if you are in the bazaar with thousands of people talking, but you're hearing only your music.
Yeah.
She cut herself from alternative views, and particularly she was totally intolerant of dissent. That, I think, cut her off from vital feedback from the society. And that, to me, was one of the crucial reasons why her career had such a disastrous event.
Thank you, Mahfuz Saab. Always a pleasure to learn from you, to understand from you. Grateful for your time. Thank you, sir.
My last word, please do not box us into the extremist narrative. Please, please.
Okay, that point is well taken. Thank you so much.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mohd Story and support independent, robust journalism.